Welcome to the Octopod. I'm Kyle Davis, head of the Office of the CTO. Join us as we dive into the latest technologies and trends shaping business. Whether you're a tech enthusiast, a business leader, or just looking to stay ahead in the digital age, this podcast is for you. Let's unlock opportunities with technology together. Let's jump in.
Welcome back, everyone. This time we're going to be talking about the wonderful topic of AI, and I'm joined by Jack from our partner at Deeper Insights. Jack, would you like to introduce yourself and your company to everyone?
Hello, everybody. My name's Jack Hampson. I'm the CEO and founder of Deeper Insights. We're a Forbes top 10 AI consultancy. We've been in the market now for 10 years, developing custom AI solutions for corporate and enterprise clients, and also helping to define and implement AI strategies across those same business groups.
Excellent. Thanks, Jack. So in this series, we're going to look at three core topics. The first one is a year on from generative AI and what does the future look like? The second one is the emerging conversation around governance and ethics. And the third one is top tips for actually adopting AI within your business. So let's get into it. We're really going to focus on, we're kind of a year on from the Gen AI craze. So we're going to have a quick look at, what does it mean, what's happened, and what do we think the future looks like? But I guess, Jack, to start with, what's your big takeaway over the last 12 to 18 months of this craze in the market?
Well, Rob, having been in the market for 10 years, I say to everyone, I've been waiting 10 years for this year. Having started a business when NLP was considered neuro-linguistic programming, going out to raise investment from VCs and so on, it was very difficult to actually build out a business that focused on natural language processing. And so it's amazing to see 10 years on where we are today, people talking about large language models and natural language processing, and every other breath around, AI and applications of it within business. But really, sort of January 2023 or November, December 22, depending on how close you followed things, was a phenomenal moment in time when ChatGPT was opened up to the masses. Obviously, GPT-3 had been available and a lot of companies, startups and others were playing with the technology, but actually seeing the application of ChatGPT being this language interface that is effectively predicts the next word, but seems like it's communicating at the sort of basic level of human intelligence was really phenomenal. And we had, phones ringing off the hook. Not that we have phones, but let's say, email inbox was very, very full. We tripled our leads overnight, pretty much, in terms of the sorts of inquiries. And there was a huge amount of buzz around the technology. I would say 1 year on, people have become better educated. So we saw a lot of opportunities in the market that we thought were genuine. How do we build out this AI capability into the business? But actually what people were looking for last year was education, really. Set out your strategy. How is this technology going to impact your business for better or for worse? And now we're getting more into the sort of implementation discussions. So I'd say we're still in a bit of a hype cycle, but there's a lot more of a sort of people are being more reasonable around what this technology could do for their business. And so that's really exciting because it means we can be more practical and we can be more pragmatic in terms of what this technology can do for your business, instead of getting carried away with a lot of the sort of headline grabbing stuff that we saw at the beginning of last year.
No, that makes sense. And I think we've got to be quite careful on the balance of, where do we apply technology and make sure there's that business outcome, which I guess we'll talk a little bit about in part 3 of this. But what are the big use cases you have seen where generative AI has made a difference to the traditional predictive AI models that we've had for the last 10 years from that side of it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the industries that have kind of benefited the most and kind of come out the blocks quickest probably around marketing, kind of copywriting, for example, in SEO, where you've got quite a high volume of text that needs to be generated as part of a sort of production of, the output of your business. So if you're a copyright agency or a marketing team, those sorts of use cases are doing well because it doesn't matter as much. It's not critical if the AI or the large language model hallucinates or makes things up. which is one of the risks with this technology.
More because in them areas you can have that human influence still to double check things necessarily versus a chatbot that's responding unsupervised and who knows what it's saying.
Yeah, we've seen some terrible examples. I think DPD had a chatbot on their website that was built by them just plugging it in and using it on the website, and it was started sort of, I think, being quite rude, maybe even swearing at customers. So definitely where marketing teams would have a kind of editorial process to kind of review copy before it goes out, certainly helps with that sort of human in the loop. But we also see kind of good applications in middle and back office. But then again, that's where you have that human in the loop and you're kind of slotting this technology into an existing workflow, and you're really helping to assist people in that
sort of human augmentation,
exactly,
just replacement piece to try and drive efficiencies at scale for organizations. Sure.
A Copilot, is fantastic technology, and Copilot for Code is actually probably one of the quickest or highest adopted use cases within organizations that I know of. I know, for example, a very large telco company adopted it very early on. They were using, I think, about 40% of their software development workforce was freelance or sort of outsourced, and they were able to reduce that headcount quite considerably using Copilot. And I think the reason why it worked so well is that that's playing into the sort of technologists who understand the limitations of the technology, and therefore they can put in place the right kind of code reviews and checks and balances that you would need for this very powerful but still early stage technology, because it does have inherent risks associated with it. So we have to be very careful with what application we apply it to.
And I guess them risks are realistically grounded in the data that's used to influence the model, whether it's trained or tuned or ragged or whatever. From that side of it, the data is the important part of the conversation, and sometimes the harder part of the job.
It is, yeah. And actually, a lot of the time we go into a business and we'll, the conversation starts with, we want large language models, we want, a ChatGPT equivalent to do X, Y, and Z. And actually, when looking at the business, the data they have, the use cases that will add the most value, we actually end up going back to, I always like to refer to the sort of AI hierarchy of needs. If you imagine Maslow's hierarchy of needs with the pyramid, and at the bottom you've got sort of data, essentially, and collection of data, and then pre-processing of data and standardizing it and making it sort of machine readable. That's actually where a lot of businesses need to be thinking about now in terms of getting themselves into a place for more advanced AI use cases. And so we end up doing quite a lot more of that type of work than actually implementing large language models per se. But I would also add that in terms of kind of where are we 1 year on from now, when we were having conversations in sort of January, February, March last year, businesses were saying, we want to fine tune a large language model. We want our version of ChatGPT, and we want it to have our tone of voice. We want it to understand our knowledge base. Can you do that? The answer is yes, but then the response to that is, do you have 10 million quid in your back pocket to spend on fine tuning and training? That has moved on significantly in 12 months. You can now fine tune GPT-4 for hundreds of dollars. So that's quite a big step change already in 12 months. The costs are coming down as well. So now it's a question of, do you need to fine tune a model? Yes or no? If you get into the fine tuning of a model, you then get into a lot more kind of QA and feedback to it, and all of the sort of steps that you need to go through. Whereas actually in a lot of cases, and you mentioned RAG just now, large language models plus retrieval augmentation generation, or RAG for short, is a very, very applicable technology to a lot of the use cases. I would say 80% of use cases would actually be satisfied by LLM plus RAG. So for the listeners, just to explain what that means, is a large language model plus RAG without fine tuning is where you're using the large language model essentially as a natural language interface. So you're asking it to go and retrieve information from a knowledge base or a data store, rather than interpret the information and be cognizant of the knowledge within that store. So you're not having to do that fine tuning, and you're not having to do kind of higher levels of QA and analysis over the output.
A lot safer. It's a lot more accessible as well from a commercial perspective. Yeah. For the ROIs are easier to see from a business.
That's right.
Yeah.
Easier to set up. You're plugging into existing kind of data pipelines. There's maybe some processing that still need to happen. but it also reduces the sort of problem that exists around LLMs, which is the hallucination risk. And so if you're using RAG, the thinking is that because you're pulling data from a specific data store, the chances of hallucinations are lower or fewer, and therefore it's easier to also assess the performance of the LLM.
That makes perfect sense. Great. So I guess as the 30-second closing pieces, what's your big thought for the future in this space? And we had a customer event the other day, and we talked a little bit about, look, if no more innovation happens, we've probably got 10 years of adoption to go. But what's your thoughts on where this is going? Is that artificial general intelligence an achievable future, or is it further out than we think?
I think it depends on how you define artificial general intelligence, and there are different schools of thought around this. I think from my perspective, AGI is only really truly achievable once you incorporate it into a robotic system, or a system that can also move and function, and therefore considers more of its environment than just information, so textual or audio or visual. So yeah, it depends how you define it. However, depending on when this podcast comes out, we may or may not be looking down the barrel of GPT-5, and who knows what that's going to come with. Obviously, GPT-4.0 with multimodality, we saw coming about 7 or 8 months ago, because it was talked about at that point, and that already again has been a phenomenal step change. So very interesting to see what GPT-5 might bring, and I'm very excited about the future.
Thanks everyone for listening. I've been Rob Sims, Chief Technologist for CDW.
And I've been Jack Hampson, CEO for Deeper Insights.
Thanks everyone
for tuning into today's episode. Be sure to check out the back catalogue for more great insights. Don't forget to subscribe via your favourite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. We appreciate your support, and if you have a topic you want us to cover, feel free to reach out. Catch you next time.